Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting, April 3rd, 2014, at 7:02 p.m. The first nature of business is the prayer and the pledge. Those who would, please join us. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to serve each other and to serve our citizens. Lord, thank you for the time that you've set aside for us to focus on the things of importance. Lord, allow us and lead, guide, and direct us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Next item is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
I have one adjustment.
We have a motion.
Yes, ma'am. Would you please, on item 8?
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
No, you made the motion.
Second. He just wants to make the adjustment. Go ahead.
The second? Adjustments, please.
On item 8E, would you add the word sidewalk so that discussing and/or take action on parking lot and sidewalk at Triangle School?
We have an addition. I would like to also table 8G. There are no recommendations this evening. Would there be any other additions, deletions to the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. This evening's citizens' comments. We have Miss Kathy Grimmenstein. Would you please approach the podium? Welcome. You have 3 minutes to deliver your comments, concerns, or questions.
Thank you for taking input about the Fairview expansion issue from the Friends of the Library, Dolores Greenwald, the director of the system, and from me. I am Kathy Grimmenstein, the branch manager here in Fairview. Been here for 17 years. And so I'm speaking about issues that I know firsthand that happen in the building. And so I want to mention just a few things, I'll be as fast as I can. Number one, the children's program numbers. We have 2 preschool programs every week for children ages 15 months to 5 years, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And there is noise involved, which nobody seems to complain about, but some people know not to come to the library between 10 and 11 a.m. because it does get a little bit loud. So that's one reason to have something like this, a quiet place to have a program. But if you, this year, in this last fiscal year, 2012, 2013, and through February 2014, we had 152 programs and 4,244 people attend these programs. That is not including the summer reading program. And I want to ask you, if you've ever been to the library during the summer reading program, we've had a performer there. If not, you need to, because we have huge crowds, sometimes up to 120, 150, in this very small little children's area. And it gets to be a safety issue sometimes because a child starts crying or needs to go to the bathroom, mom can't get to them. Somebody else takes them to mom. So we want to, that's a good reason to have an expansion also. The second issue is our fire marshal's concern about our storage space in our workroom. The storage room contains, right now, all the boxes of tax forms, boxes of donations, and withdrawn items. And we keep those until we can send them back to the surplus sale at the county. And so boxes everywhere, and the point of that is that the local firemen visit us once a year unannounced to check different parts of the building, and one thing they always check is the meter box. There's not supposed to be anything in front of that meter box at all. So we try to stay on top of that to move everything away so we don't know when they're coming, and just to keep everything away from it. And then we've got 2 signs on the meter box. But if we had an expansion with some good storage space, we could keep boxes somewhere else besides that small room, and that would alleviate that issue. Number 3, patron computer use, and this is a real number, I counted it twice. 9,999 patrons used our public computers with the internet in 2012-13 and so far this year through February 14. They come in constantly. As you know, it's the people who don't have computers at home or their printer's not working. Those are the people who usually come to the library for that. Number 4, we are one of the busiest branches in the system. Fairview and Nolensville branches are definitely the busiest. Nolensville has become a little busier than it used to be because of all the construction that's going on in that part of the county, schools and a lot more houses. So that has caused their numbers to rise. Ours numbers still rise, but they're kind of catching up, I guess if that's what you want to call it. Number 5, the VITA system, VITA service, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. United Way provides volunteers to come to the library twice a week during tax season to help people file for their taxes, get it all done on the computer so they don't have to do anything. And people really appreciate that. They come from Williamson County and surrounding counties because we are the closest location in several counties to have this free service. They don't have it in Hickman County, Dixon. There's another county I know for sure. So we usually don't know the people who come in. So it looks good for Fairview that we have something like this. And hopefully, while they're here in Fairview, they will be impressed enough, because some of them already said, we didn't know you had a Walmart here, a Publix here. So they may get something to eat while they're here. So it may be financially help Fairview too. And the last one, and the most important, I think, is that the library shelves are so crowded with books and all our materials. If you come to the library at any time, you may see books sitting on top of other books on bookshelves because we do not have a place to put them. And we also keep some on the book cart, that 5 or 6 usually, that just won't go anywhere. They won't even go on top. So at this point, the only solution we have to that issue is to withdraw. And I try to withdraw outdated books, books that are not in good shape, haven't been checked out very much in recent years, but they're still gone from the library. And I'm not one of those people that wants to hold on to every single thing. I think it's time we have to rotate, but that is something we have to do. And I'm constantly ordering as we're pulling books, I'm ordering more all the time. And these are newer books that people want, especially young adults, are very sure about what they want to check out. And adults are too, so I try to stay on top of the popular books for them. Thank you for considering this issue, your pride in the city of Fairview, and we hope for a positive, greatly needed result. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Miss Jeanette Mullendorf. Did I say that correctly? Please state your name and your address.
My name is Jeanette Mellendorf. I live at 7557 Aubrey Ridge Drive. I'm the president of our Friends of the Library organization that is dedicated to supporting the Fairview Library. We hold 2 used book sales a year, plus sometimes another money-raising project. In 2013, we donated $4,000 to the library, in addition to helping cover the cost of some of the programs. But because of lack of space, our book sales have to be held at the rec center, and our members have to transport the donated books from the library to the rec center. We believe that the Fairview Library is a definite asset to the city. Many people planning to move to a new city check to see if there's a library in that area. Fairview Library lacks the square footage recommended by the state of Tennessee. but the addition would help to bring it up closer to that maximum. And as the city grows and improves, we can probably work towards a new library. But right now, we do need the additional space. Fairview Library is one of the most used libraries in the county in spite of its small size. The county maintains the building and provides the staff. By enlarging the space, we could enhance the use of library. So we earnestly request that the commissioners join with the county to construct the new addition. Cooperation between city and county is essential. And I can assure you that our club will do all that we can to help in this project.
Thank you. Miss Elizabeth Keaton? Welcome.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Keaton, and I live at 7504 Scarborough Place, Fairview here. And I am a mother of two, and both of them are in elementary school. We use the library frequently. Some of the kids' programs, sometimes we just have to turn around because there's not enough parking. And if you can walk from Publix over there, the space that the kids are in, there's just not enough, and it is a safety hazard. I don't want to lose track of my children. The library is definitely an asset. I use it quite often, and the library can inspire children to go to their next frequency, their goals, and their next, ambitions and stuff like that. Some people even go to the library to go get jobs, to use the computer and stuff like that. And I just think that the library needs to be expanded because I do see that there's a line, and I am part of that line sometimes. And we do meet, I am with the Friends of the Library. We do meet there, and we do discuss these issues, expansion and other things that can be taken care of around there. And I just think that there's things that need to be improved that you can't really put a dollar price on in that area.
Thank you. Mr. Jim Powers?
You removed from the agenda the item I was going to speak about.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the awards and recognitions.
Mayor, if I may just
Go ahead.
go ahead and introduce a couple of people that are here tonight. Derek Burks, if you could stand up just a second. Derek is running for the city judge position. If you want to step up to the mic just a second, tell us a little bit about yourself. We've got a history of trying to introduce anybody that comes to this area that's willing to serve the city, so.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. My name is Derek Burks. I've lived in Fairview for 10 years. I'm married to Holly Cunningham, so it makes me probably related to half this town. I find the position of city judge to be very important. That position is where most people in our community are going to come in contact with our legal system. It's very important that everyone that comes before our legal system is treated with respect and dignity. It's a measure of a community, how you're treated, even those who have not treated others very well. So I find it very important, and I'm honored to be able to run for that position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The other person here tonight that's running for office is Lee Dreyer. Lee's been here before, but many people may not know him. Lee, would you like to step up and say anything?
Hi, I'm Lee Dreyer, and I'm running for City Court Judge. I decided to run because I felt like this community needed someone who would hold the line on some of the expenditures and things that are coming out of the court systems now. I feel like there's way too much involvement generally by government in our lives. And the time that you're most likely to be stressed out is when you're before court, when you're before a judge, when there's a prosecutor trying to convict you, trying to get you, put you in jail perhaps, trying to fine you. And I feel like the average citizen in Fairview that comes to court is not what you'd call a criminal. They're typically someone who has at best or at most made an error in judgment. And I feel like that any interaction you have with the government, particularly when you are in the business end of a prosecution, should be as brief and as comfortable for you as possible. I also feel as though if you are a victim of a crime or you're drug into the system as a witness, again, the court should show you respect, should treat you with dignity, should respect your schedule, your needs, and not treat you just like a number. I'm the only person in this race that's been both a prosecutor and a defense lawyer. I've handled criminal cases for the last 20 years. And I feel like I'm experienced and can do the job well. And I am also very honored that my petition has been approved and that 50 people from Fairview chose to back my candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other awards or recognitions this evening? Okay. Public announcements?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder of our emission testing every Monday and Tuesday from 7:30 till noon. And believe it or not, I've been finding a lot of people that still doesn't know that. So hopefully they'll take heed to that and utilize the convenience that we do have out there. One day I'd like to see something else happen to Fairview, but that's to be able to get our license tags here. So we may continue to try to work on that. Thank you.
Now, I did see, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, they're doing the rabies shots at the elementary school, is that correct? At Fairview Elementary? So just as a service. Saturday? I don't know, it's in the paper, so it just, if y'all will look, I'm sure there's something. I just read it, and I don't know the exact time. I think it is in the afternoon, but look at your observer, and it should tell you exactly.
1 to 4?
1 to 4, thank you.
Saturday, 1 to 4 at the
Fairview
Fairview
Elementary.
Elementary. Good teamwork, thank you. Any other public announcements this evening? Yes.
You're going to remind them about at the park?
No, go ahead.
Well,
Oh, the Jubilee.
yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Is there someone, Keith, would you like to announce that way I don't get any of the details scrambled?
That's what I was afraid of. That's why I was deferring to you.
Yes, sir. We have a shindig on Saturday at the park, and Keith's going to tell you about it.
Saturday, April 5th, from 2 to 3, we have a Bowie Jubilee going concert series. Leaper Fork Bluegrass will be performing there. We have a picking party afterwards from 3 to 5. Bring your own, get fiddle, banjos, mandolin, picking party after concert.
Excellent.
It's at Joanne's classroom.
Yes.
In the back of the Nature Center, Joanne's classroom. Sounds like a great event. Thank you. Okay, any others?
And it's free. There's somebody said it, yeah.
Thank you. All right, next item is the approval of the minutes, from the February 20th, 2014 board meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and second. I would like to, there's on page 7, 3/4 of the way down, there's a small typo or spelling. You see it, WADN apostrophe T instead of WAS. 3 lines from not C. You see it? Okay. And page 8, the very last sentence, a typo, it'd be, the G is missing.
And
And
what,
the word hollering. And the very last page, the second to last paragraph, Mayor Tati states if if no one has objection, I will close the meeting. There were only 3. Any other items on the minutes? All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? And I would also like to highlight City Manager Hall. A month or so ago, it was suggested or requested that the approved minutes be posted on the website. And just wanted to make sure that was being done. What do you have, February 20th? February 6th? On the website?
All of 2013 through February 6th of this year.
And where would you find those?
Boards and commissions.
Not under downloads? Under boards and commissions? Okay. I had 3 requests today, and I couldn't tell them where to go, so I thank you for that clarification. All right. All those in favor, we voted. Any opposed? Everybody's good? Old business, 7A. Second and final reading of Bill 2014-04.
It's an ordinance to change the zoning of certain property in the city of Fairview, Tennessee, located on Old Nashville Road, owned by Timothy R. Mangrum and wife Jessica Mangrum, as shown on the Fairview Geological Listing of Assessment Road, map 42, parcel 6512, 1.03 acres from RM12 to RS10. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, discussion?
Mr. Mangrum, you here? Mr. Mangrum from representation, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir. 7B, discuss and or take action on vacant board seats. We currently have a Board of Zoning Appeal application in front of us. Mr. Mitch Dowdy. Does he have to be here?
No, I told him, since we knew who he was and had his application from the last meeting, that he did. Yes, he was.
Okay,
He was here during the last meeting that we had on this subject, okay.
okay. What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we had on our table, and Ms. Johnson sent out a note of the Industrial Development Board, which is a vacant seat. We do have a current application presented. Salvatore Cali, are you present? Hello.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Under discussion, I would just like, as we have asked all applicants, just to maybe share your interest and just a little bit about yourself so we can welcome you. Just get to the microphone. Thank you, sir.
No problem. I've been in the metals industry for 31 years. Was in the Air Force for 4. I'm the post adjutant for Post 248 here in town. And, you know, I've been in business 31 years, so I'm interested in business. And I travel around to a lot of towns. I now work for a scrapyard in Nashville. When I originally moved here in 2002, I worked for Wabash Alloys in Dixon. It's now closed. I now work for Southern Recycling in Nashville, and in my travels around other towns in the area, I run across a lot of industry, and I think it helps those towns. if we could draw some industry here, I think it would help our town too, so.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. And at this point, did we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome, Mr. Callie. And you can see Mr. Hall, City Manager Hall, if you'd like for schedules, or to make sure that the city recorder has your personal information if it's not on the app.
And thank you for your services to our
Yes, sir.
country.
Welcome aboard. Would there be any other vacant seats or applications at this time? Okay. Item C, discuss and/or take action on the Fairview Branch Williams.
Mayor, could I just
sorry.
take it just a second? There's plenty of, there's a lot of vacant seats. We just don't have current applications, so look at them online and see if there's something you may be interested in. We would definitely welcome your application. Sorry, Mayor.
That's okay. I will just piggyback on that. What seats are currently available? What I was thinking. No, we currently have a seat available on the beer board, which meets as needed. And if you have an interest, there are applications online, or you're welcome to call City Hall for City Manager Hall. He'd be glad to direct you.
If I can add to that also, I'm on about 4 voluntary boards, so don't give up hope. For something you'd like to be interested in, let me know. And I can certainly share that responsibility with someone out there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we need to vacate a bunch and then get some. All right, item number C, discuss and/or take action on the Fairview Branch Williamson County Library expansion and request. I'd like to welcome, okay, Ms. Diane, and then if, Dolores, I'm sorry, Ms. Dolores, if you would like to share with us what you have to present.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners, for your time. I will promise I will be brief and try to keep you guys awake at the same time. I would like to also thank members of the Friends of the Library and Kathy Grimmenstein, our Fairview Branch Manager, for coming and talking to us about the importance of the library here in Fairview and also in any community that has a library. You should have a handout that I put in your packet concerning the expansion, square footage and that sort of thing. Here are some plans that I am bringing with me that was looked at, approximately a year ago. Some work that needed to be done to the location. There was some trenching issues that we had because sometimes when it rained heavy, the front door would be blocked by water and it was hard to get in. So last year, about this time, I guess, maybe a little later, the county repaired the trenches and the parking area so it doesn't have that flooding issue anymore. So also, when we talked about this last year with folks in the local community, I was hearing that there was a lot of need in Fairview for community space, meeting space. And this 800-foot expansion to the library would help in would alleviate some of that problem that Fairview has with community space because it would be a larger area. The capital request is construction, design costs, and other costs. And the county, if the expense is split between the Williamson County and Fairview, Fairview's costs would be approximately $91,000. And to pay for that funding, the county went through the budget process to get the adequate school facilities tax amended so that it could be used for the library expansion. And the adequate school facilities tax, it's a privileged tax. It's divided between Williamson County and various cities based on population. Now, Franklin School District receives a portion, and that's based on daily attendance. If there are allocated funds in this tax that is used, such as the city of Nolensville recently used part of their adequate school facilities tax to help build with Williamson County a recreation center. It has to go through an approval process. And Williamson County approved an interlocal agreement in Resolution 9/1321. And it was an addendum to an interlocal agreement providing the city mayor the right to enter into an agreement with the city of Fairview to use the school facilities tax to pay for their portion of the expansion of Williamson County's library. In the urgency for the commissioners to make a decision on whether or not to use this tax for the expansion or their portion of the tax for the expansion, because we in the county are toward the end of our budget process. And once it goes past the capital improvement phase, then it makes it very, very difficult once the budget is accepted to do this within a budget year. So now is really the time to be thinking about that if you want to do it within this fiscal year. And you probably have questions. I know I have had many questions as I was getting this together. So if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer, I promise.
I've had conversations with you probably about a month and a half or so.
Well, what the county has done, we went through a process where the school's budget committee, Williamson County Schools Budget Committee, agreed that this could be used to expand the library. Then it went to the Williamson County Budget Committee, this interlocal agreement. It was approved to use the funds for the expansion. So I don't understand where the discrepancy is. I just know what I experienced when I went through this process, because I was at the meetings and, heard the votes and heard what happened.
Well, I was there with you on one of them. I think the mayor couldn't make it, and I sat in on the meeting and
The education fund.
the education fund meeting, and that was a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
And I was just, it seemed like it was the last holiday that we had. Was it Martin Luther King Day? Ms. Grimstein, where you at? You there? She left? Okay.
She started, I think it was, I think Martin Luther King Day was a
Yeah, because
holiday.
y'all were off on Tuesday because you're normally closed on Monday.
Oh, yeah, the branches were, yeah.
But right before this, when I got the information that it was not gonna go through. And I think I called you on a Tuesday or something after that, and basically got the same information. I'm trying to find out what changed, because my impression was, and I'm all for this, okay? But I wanna make sure that we're in line with the county, because we approved it, we got it set up to them. The initial thing that we were told was if we shared the cost of this, which I think at that time was like $128,000 or 100 and somewhere along through there. Am I pretty close?
Pretty close.
And they were willing to do that and move forward with it if we were willing to share the cost in it, which we did. We voted to do exactly that.
No, that's where it stopped.
Okay.
We voted, and the approval of the interlocal agreement addendum or amendment was that we could utilize the monies.
Okay.
Never did we bring the actual amount and vote on that
That's-
amount, and that's where it stopped.
That's
Back
right.
in November.
Yeah. The addendum was one step, but the commissioners and mayor needed to go a step forward and actually vote on using the tax.
It's
You
my
enter-
understanding that we had already approved the use of the tax agreement. We went from.
Now, what, technically.
In front of the board up there to request that we be able to use that.
Yeah, technically, you did, but the addendum was for an interlocal agreement. So the county and the city of Fairview still had to vote on that agreement. What the addendum did was permit the two entities to enter into discussion
On the library.
on the expansion of the library.
They added to the interlocal agreement the ability to utilize the money for the library. It was not there. There was no dollar amount discussed, and I remember having the discussion with Commissioner Bissell when we were discussing the money that we're not there yet. We're there now.
Has the county already approved it then?
County has approved their portion of the addendum. Now, when we go through the budget process, it will be listed in as a capital improvement
For next year?
for this coming year's budget, yes, sir.
So there's nothing going to be in this year's budget?
We're about to end this year's budget. We're going into our fiscal year, July.
I guess I was excited about it when we started it a year ago and was ready to move forward with it. And it's been, that was what, 6, 7 months, whatever it was. I didn't hear anything about what the delay was or anything else. And finally I asked, and I was told at that time that it was on hold. It wasn't going to happen.
I don't know.
And
I don't
I haven't got
exactly.
anything back from the county saying that.
Well, I think there is evidently some miscommunication here because from the county perspective, we went through this process to vote. And then the ball was kind of in the commissioner's court here. And I think that's where the miscommunication came. Maybe it wasn't an
I
understanding.
never heard it brought back up.
No, that's the point, is we never discussed the monetary agreement of the city of Fairview on the project.
You just agreed to using the funds.
There was a figure there, because we took
Yes.
half of what the figure was, the adjusted cost was, so the figure was there.
60-something thousand.
Yes, but
There's
that we
about
never, we
70.
never voted on yes, we will appropriate X. We said when the discussion comes
I
up.
just want to move forward with it. We're
Okay.
another year and a half behind with it.
I agree.
What's the difference in the cost between then and now?
It's roughly 10% from what the facilities person is telling me.
That's all that.
So, you're correct in that the longer the delay, the more it's going to cost.
Absolutely.
But also, I think it will be an asset to the building if in the future it's no longer used as a library building, there's another library building built somewhere down the road. It will only add to the building, no matter what it's used for by the city or the county.
Well, let me ask you a question since you brought that up and we're talking about adding value. Would you spend $182,000 to add 800 square feet to your house?
It would depend on where it was and what I was trying to do, I would assume. That would be tough to decide by just money being spent. You have to, renovation and what have you. It's often more expensive per square foot to renovate a building than it is to build a building.
Do you know of anything in the near future that you would want to build a new library? That's the reason I asked you that question, because if you know something and the county knows something that they're not telling us, and they're getting ready to build a new library.
Oh, no. No, that would never, I would never keep that a secret. I would shout that from the rooftops.
Did you
if
almost
there
say
was-
that would never happen? Is that what you almost said?
Well, no, what I started to say was I would never keep it a secret. I would shout it from the rooftops.
And I think the question is my question also. This is a temporary fix.
It is.
And it's not even a complete fix at that, because it still doesn't bring us up to the capacity that we need. And
That's right.
I get off track,
It
you let me
is, it is a Band-Aid, more or less. And at some point, you know, future discussions on a new building, as fast as Fairview is growing, I think that is very appropriate. But tonight, we're talking about the expansion specifically.
Question for you. When they built a new library in Franklin, how much did the city of Franklin put into it?
Oh, gosh, that was, I say things like this, BD, which is before Dolores. The building is approximately 10 years old.
Right.
And I know the city of Franklin did contribute to it, and they contribute to our annual budget. We have we get about $52,000 a year from the city of Franklin. But on the other hand, too, we have a lot of Franklin residents that use it because we're right there on Columbia Avenue.
Aren't we the number 2 used library in the county?
You were for a while. You're going back and forth now. You're going between Nolensville and here.
Competition.
But, and we can also, Nolensville's library is very similar in a situation like you guys are. Nolensville is growing fast. It's almost the exact same building. And very inadequate for the population there now. So, you know, there's some areas I'd like to see the library grow. One of them is here, one of them is Nolensville too.
I go to the library down here, and I know it's extremely overcrowded, and I know that there's a need for it. And my biggest question is the Band-Aid fix and the dollar per square foot. Average building cost here, Mayor, can you help me with that?
Yes, sir.
Is it roughly $125 a square foot? Don't
No
know.
knowledge.
I thought you were in the real estate business, I'm sorry. So, you know, that's quite a bit higher than what that would be to build it on that. But I know you said renovations there.
Well, Commissioner, you also have to take into consideration, this sketch was put together that I handed out to you, just eyeballing it. It wasn't a specific detailed sketch. And so the exact cost would be hard to predict, especially since it's been a year that the architect has put eyes on it. So
we're not even sure this figure is solid.
from what the facilities people are telling me, it is solid. The facilities department, who I worked with with reviewing the expansion, worked with an architect that they have used for years and the schools use, and they're very comfortable at this point moving forward.
Tom, what is the balance of the adequate schools facilities tax?
See if your figure matches mine.
What's your figure?
She's got it, Tom, she'll tell you exactly what it is.
Mine's smaller.
Yours is small. Well, that's what the department told me, that if it has been spent by the city, that figure may not be accurate.
We spent 89.2 to the school systems this year,
Okay.
so that's about the difference. I've got 384,
Okay,
280.
there you go. That's probably it.
So the difference is with what we've already given the schools?
Pretty close, give or
this-
take 10,000.
Yeah. And this is of 22814.
What was the figure, Tom, you have?
I've got 384, 280. and
You
she-
gotta include the recent, middle college, is that included in that? So it hadn't been given yet, so, okay.
That hasn't been paid either, has it?
No.
That's what,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the $91,025.
Not to exceed?
Not to exceed at this time, no.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, ma'am. Couple questions, first of all. Would the county be willing to give us the $91,000 and have us build it for you? Because $2,000 a square foot, even
200.
for a remodel job, is.
200.
200.
You
What?
said 2,000, it's 200,
To 200?
not 2,000 square foot.
For 180,000 for 800 square foot? No, okay, $200 is still pretty expensive, isn't it?
Yes.
But even if that's not the case, and this was my objection, and is my real objection, that was more tongue-in-cheek on the other, but, yeah, because I didn't think the county would do that. But we pay both city and county tax. So if you assume that, and just not the other people coming from other counties and stuff, that's just the way it falls. But the 37062 zip code is about a 50-50 split between county folks and city folks. So the city folks, by paying half, or in essence, are paying more than half, because we've already paid county tax that's being used to their side. So that comes out to about 4% difference. So we really should be paying on this 167,000, according to my figures, we should be paying 83,750, not 91,000.
182,000. 182.
Yeah, but it's still, we should be paying 83,750 rather than 91,000, and that way the poor folks in Fairview are not double taxed for their library. Since we've already paid the county tax too. So I make a motion that we amend the amount to a maximum of $84,000.
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to go back to the fact, this is not going to necessarily have to come out of this budget year. You just need us to agree to move forward. That's what you said to Commissioner Sutton, right?
Well, not out of this year's budget. We're in the process of working on next fiscal year's budget.
So that's what you just need to know by June, the end of June.
No, because the commissioners approved the capital project.
Before.
Way before.
Right.
Like, we need to know by the end of this month whether or not it's gonna happen.
Other discussion?
And so in return, we could figure it into next year's budget.
It's going
We'd
to,
pay
it's going
the
to come out
money
the same
in
place.
next year's budget, but we would have to include it if we vote for it.
Other discussion?
What's the motion, amend the motion again?
Not to
Sorry,
exceed
my
80.
amended motion is that because we pay both city and county tax, and the service area, just using 37062, is 50-50, that we would not need to pay a full 50% of the total construction costs, because that means that, in essence, a city taxpayer pays more than a county taxpayer, even though it's probably a 50-50 split. So by the time we are 4% of the property assessment tax and that doesn't count sales tax or anything, you just can't figure that. But of the property assessed in Williamson County, we are 4%. So if you reduce our half by 4%, which is $7,000, drop it from 91 to 84, then we are not double taxed. We're covered completely, and that's how I came up with it.
Commissioner, can I address that?
Yes, ma'am?
Okay. In the city of Nolensville, they recently used this tax to fund a joint project with the county on a rec center. They went 50-50 on the funding for that project. One thing to keep in mind when we're discussing this is that the county pays the employees there. It maintains the building. It maintains the grounds, fixes any repairs. So even though it may be split 50-50, Commissioner, the way I see it, the county is putting more into it anyway.
Yes, ma'am, but we pay county tax too. If we didn't pay county tax, there'd be no problem with that. But those monies that you're talking about, the county paying for those things, we pay for ourselves. And Nolensville is about 1% versus, so the amount of difference, I have no idea what the rec center costs there, but the difference talking about when you're talking about a 1% difference is substantially less than 4% difference at $190,000. So I mean, it's just, if my fellow board members think that my math is voodoo economics, I believe, or some term like that, that's fine. But the reality is that we do pay county and city tax, and granted, we're still paying for those employees and things of that nature, just like the county pays. The county gets their money, 4% of their property tax, not to mention the sales tax, which is not even part of this, but they get 4% of the property tax revenue of the county comes from the city of Fairview.
You just said this is a county entity. So should the county not do all those things you just listed?
Oh, I'm not saying that they shouldn't.
Okay. The county owns the building, correct? When we have the party, as you said, possibly when they want to build the new building, is the county going to be willing to give us our money back when y'all sell the building?
That is too far. I do not have a crystal ball. So whatever happens to that building once the library's not using it is hard for me to say. I know that there has been discussion. I think Fairview had talked about using it for an EMS or some kind of public safety building. I don't know. But it's too far ahead to be able to predict that, exactly what would happen.
I'm comfortable with what Commissioner Basile was talking about, especially in light that the cost has gone up by roughly $60,000 since we originally talked about it. And I would be glad to approve that.
Which is well more than 10%.
Which is well more than 10% increase in it. And I see where some of it came from. I'm all for the project. I'm not going to squawk about that. I think we need a new library. I'd like to see sometime in the future it works out something with the county where we could donate some land, share a smaller cost of it. Quite naturally, the county's $500 million budget is a little bit higher than our $5 million budget. So 50-50 kind of rubs off there just a little bit, I think.
Well,
But I see exactly what he's talking about too. And I go to the library frequently, and my wife lets me take books back and tapes back, especially when they're overdue, and I get to pay the penalty. But I'm all about the library, I really am. But I think that figure is a very fair figure considering the increase. And the question that I have, are we going to move in a timely manner so that we don't look at another 10 or 15% increase?
you mean for the expansion or for the building?
For the expansion.
I
mean, we're looking at a lot of difference between last year and this year right here.
Yeah, and, you know, there again, that is just, it's a facilities addition to it. I mean, I can't say because we don't have exact specs, we're not building tomorrow, exactly what that's going to cost. But yeah, I mean, the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost.
When do you think the county be willing, ready to act on it and approve it and move forward?
I would think if it is approved within this capital proposal at the first part of May, I would think we could probably start on it this summer.
Other discussion?
I just wanted to make the comment. I hear what Commissioner Basile says, and I understand the logic, but I worry about changing the amount because we basically went to the county and said, we'll pay 50%, and then now to come back and kind of go back on that, I worry about you know, is that going to provide enough money? Where's the Friends of the Library going to come up with the difference? And so I worry, since we already agreed that we would pay 50%, that I just worry about that precedence. And then also, I think a number of us have heard from the county several times that if they do any project, you know, when we've talked to them about, hey, we need new rec or new soccer, they always say, we have to be able to come up with the funds for 50%. So with that logic, I really don't want to sway from what we originally agreed. Now, it is very disheartening, the difference, because I had 70,000 in my head, and there was something somewhere that it was around that dollar amount.
7,000 was like our part of it.
Yes. And
Yeah, that was last part of last
it was
year.
6 months, so,
It's been almost a year.
We're talking about a
8,
30%
how much?
increase since November. Where did those figures come from?
Well, what happened, well, not necessarily since
In
November,
June?
you gotta remember the architect.
so we're a year in June.
The architect come up with what I handed out to you roughly a year ago.
And that is also a figure that they estimate that 99 times out of 100, when it goes to bid, is way under that anyway. So we're talking about they could be even more than this, and 99% chance that it's more than this. What's the county going to do then?
Well,
Are they
this
going to
isn't
reject
a-
the bids?
I'm sorry?
Is the county going to reject the bids at that point? Or have they told
I
you
would
they are
think it
set
was-
to do
if
the
it's-
project they're ready to go?
I would think if it is, if you have a certain money set aside for a project and it's over, you know, the bid price is over that, I wouldn't see where that would get funded.
What I'd like to see us go back to, or you or whoever, go back to the county and explain to them, this is the amount of money that the city of Fairview is willing to give to complete an 800 square foot expansion to it, period. Not leave an open door figure there for, because like I said, there's a little difference between the $500 million budget and the $5 million budget. And they need to realize that too when you're talking about equal 50-50. We don't have a $500 million budget to draw from. And I think we should set a figure at it and say, this is the figure that we're going to do, and move forward from right there, and here we go. My problem with 50-50, if they'd have told us what's changed is it's $500,000, I don't believe I'd be saying, okay, I'll pay you 100 and 250. That's not a reasonable number for me. So I'd like to see us stick with the figures that Commissioner Purcell came up with, but that's all my comment right now.
Other discussion?
I just hate to see us sway. I'm fine with this being the cap amount, if the estimate, but we
Not to
agreed.
exceed amount.
Yeah, like, the 91,000 is our portion. So what was the 100 and, I forgot what it was.
182.50.
182.50. So I would like to stick with that amount, and if they go over it, then us paying half of that amount. And then if they go over, then, you know, we can't do the project.
Well, I think there's a couple of things to be considered. If we're going, I don't think we committed to pay 50%. I think all we committed to do was to enter into negotiation about
That's
it,
right.
because I would not have voted for that. I raised this contention the first time, and I would not have voted for that. But even if we did enter 50% at that time, if you want to take that, then the actual amount we owe is $67,000, because that was what was presented to us at the time we made that decision. So that's even less than what I'm offering here. So if we're going to take the 50% rule, then I'm good with that. We're going to drop it to $67,000, which is what the county offered at that particular time. Now, given that they have raised it, that part of it has changed, and so I think the $84,000 adapts to that part of it that's changed. However, I am very concerned about double taxation, and that is double taxation at 50-50. And the county seems to, because they're the big guy in the room, seems to make a lot of these decisions about what you have to do to play ball with them. And that doesn't necessarily mean the rules that they establish are fair. And I realize you're in the middle, and if they call me on it, I'll tell them you stood up for them 110%.
Very, very, very
you know, this is, to me, this is very similar with the fire contract. And we needed to stand up and assert ourselves and say, no, that what you're proposing is not right. And I find humor in that, considering I've seen a couple of press releases where the the rescue squad is taking credit for lowering the ISO in our part of the county, when in fact, they were able to do that because our fire department bought new fire trucks and did things, and we cover their stuff. So, which wasn't in the article. But in this particular instance, it's double taxation, and we're paying more at the city of Fairview, and I have not seen, and I asked for this the very first time this was brought up, an actual count of how many citizens use it and how many people that are not citizens use it. And my understanding was that couldn't be given. I could be told how many people used it, how many people had cards, but not whether or not those people were in the city or not in the city, and without some manual research of checking everybody's address. So as long as we're not provided with that information, and I see that the city people use it, we have to use estimates. It's 50-50 in 37062 in terms of in the county and outside the county, or in the city and outside the city. And to me, it's only fair that to our citizens in the city, we need the library expansion. I'm not against the library expansion, but it's only fair that we don't pay twice for the same thing that somebody outside the county is only going to pay once for. And that's what it boils down to me, because I pay both city and county taxes, as do the rest of us up here. And that's why I come up with 84,000.
I have said in different meetings where they've said 50-50, I do understand your logic, and it makes sense, but I really feel like that we've been forewarned. Now, whether or not we voted on that meeting, but the proposal was that we would, if they would let us use the facility tax, that we would pay the 50-50. So I'm just want to point that out to everybody, is basically in the meeting, whether or not it was in the amendment, it was explained to us very well that our portion would be 50% of that cost, or whatever the cost would be.
Other discussion? Would you please restate the motion?
Yes. My motion is that we pay, my amendment to the original motion, that we pay half, is that we pay a maximum of $84,000, which is what I calculate would be our part as a city, considering that we already pay county taxes too.
The amendment has been restated. There is a second, and I do want to highlight that the second was withdrawn, whether his mic was on or not, but the second was withdrawn from the original motion,
It won't make any difference.
and it's not current. I obviously was clarifying because she was not privy to his statement by what you just said, so I just wanted to clarify that.
So, yeah, we're only on one, he
Correct.
withdrew, so there was no original motion. And
Correct.
so either this way or,
Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. The item, we have a up to 84,000 on the expansion of the library for discussion, and you can get with Mr. Darty to address particulars.
And please keep
I
us
do appreciate
informed
your info.
I will.
as it progresses through the budget committee.
My phone, my email's always available anytime you want to talk to me.
Oh, I got a hold of you as soon as I heard that we weren't going to be doing it this budget year, didn't I?
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation and your time and your commitment to Fairview. Item 8A,
I just need to get your.
I will request in the gallery, if you are choosing to leave after this item.
Let me give you my email.
If not, we'll move on. Thank you. Discuss and/or take action on Resolution 04-14.
It's a resolution to set a public hearing for the purpose of obtaining public comment on changing the zoning of certain property in the city of Fairview, Tennessee, located on Highway 96 North near Interstate 40, owned by the McRedmond Family Partnership, as shown on the Fairview Geological Listing of Assessment Roll Map 18, parcel 18022.00 acres from RS 40 to Commercial General 25.87 acres. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Item 8B, discuss and or take action on Bill 2014-06.
It's an ordinance to change the zoning of certain property in the city of Fairview, Tennessee, located on Highway 96 North near Interstate 40, owned by the McRedmond Family Partnership, as shown on the Fairview Geological Listing of Assessment Roll Map 18, parcel 22 from RS 40 to Commercial General, 25.87 acres. Move for approval. She is still in the building.
Second.
Discussion?
This is the first read, correct?
That's correct.
So it would have to have a second read after the public
After the
hearing.
public hearing, that's correct.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Item 8C, discuss and or take action on Resolution 06-14.
A resolution to approve a contract of employment between the City of Fairview, Tennessee and Wayne Hall as city manager for the City of Fairview, Tennessee pursuant to City of Fairview, Tennessee Charter and Tennessee Code annotated 621-101. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, discussion?
Mayor, may I make one statement for clarification?
Yes.
This is the resolution that we had on the last meeting. The contract was executed between Mr. Hall and the city. After the meeting, we had to defer it or move it to this meeting because the contract has the resolution has a provision in there that the contract is made a portion of that resolution by reference, and you cannot make something a part of something by reference unless it's in existence. So we had to get the contract executed, which it was, and then move the resolution to tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Item D, discuss and or take action on providing electrical service and security lighting to Triangle School. Commissioner Basale?
Thank you. I forgot to bring the same copies over. Y'all probably have them from the previous one. The first action on item D is to provide electrical service from the pole to the Triangle School and to provide a security light. The cost of that will be $2,500 for the electrical school, with the electrician, and that will come out of the Capital Improvement Fund. And then the $600 would come out of the utilities as a normal Middle Tennessee Electric charge.
Move to approve. Second.
For clarifications, you had 1,200 and 2,500, which was a total of 37?
Yes,
Sorry,
but
I
we've,
missed something.
in an effort to try to cut back on the cost, we eliminated one of the security posts.
And you just said that, I'm sorry. Thank you. Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8E, discuss and or take action on parking lot and sidewalks at Triangle School.
Yes. First of all, last time we had there, and we didn't get to it, we had approximately $2,400. That was $2,386 or something. Somebody has got the sheet. That was what the cost of the original sidewalk and gravel and all of that would be to get folks from the parking lot around to the front and that sort of thing. We were going to do that in-house with the park maintenance crew was going to build that, and that was pretty much going to cover that. What I did was I went back and looked at alternatives to the asphalt parking lot, which would have been the preferred choice under the original design, to try to find out what the minimum would be. And that is going to require us to purchase, we're going to have to reduce the number of parking spots, not have a bus parking spot. We'll have to figure out some other way that we're bus parking. But the gravel cost is going to be about $1,400 or so to get the gravel to build the parking lot, and then we will need an additional $600 for concrete in order for the park maintenance staff to build the 2 parking spots, actually 1 parking spot and 1 loading spot for the 2 handicaps. So it's a total of $4,400 to do that, which brings the total amount to finish us out and get us a certificate of occupancy and allow the Historical Association to do their part with the wiring and the HVAC and et cetera of $7,500. So, but this appropriation would be for $4,400, and they would both come out of the capital improvement project fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
First and second, discussion?
I'm probably on the same place on this without knowing what our yearly, how we're going to end up in our budget. Have y'all considered the fact of maybe graveling, doing the handicap parking pads, and then come June, we could readdress paving the?
That's what we're doing.
Okay, so you're going to only do the parking pad now? Instead of doing
Correct.
the
We're going to build
the whole parking lot?
Out of this year's
Okay.
money.
Right, they're going to extend out what the sidewalk to make 2 parking spots. One will be the actual handicap, and one will be the side, the loading. You have to have the loading. And then we will reduce the size of the parking lot to only be 3 additional spaces, because over 4 spaces plus the handicap, you're going to have to asphalt. So we have to cut down on the number of spaces to 3 plus that, and then we'll have to deal later on if we want to expand it or asphalt it, we'll have to, but that will meet the requirements for the city to get the certificate of occupancy.
Okay, and would you repeat again the difference between what you presented the other day in the special meeting and what you're presenting now?
Certainly. There have been no changes to the electricity. There have been only when the asphalt was not approved, that was $7,650. When the asphalt, which would have been 5 spaces plus a handicap, when that was not approved, we went back to figure out what was the minimum we could do under our city code. And so we dropped that to the 1 handicap space and 3 additional gravel spaces. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did.
Commissioner Pacelli, you're going to be introducing that to the budget process for next year's budget?
For the asphalt for next year, I wasn't. At this particular time, I was waiting to see where we were in the budget process when we get to that part, to see whether or not it's even feasible at that point. But this will get us, excuse me, our goal has always been to get to a certificate of occupancy, and this will get us to a certificate of occupancy.
Mr. Hall, could you speak to your conversation with the County Highway Superintendent Eddie Hood and what happened with the gravel there?
I called to see if we could get a donation of 8 loads of gravel from the county. I'd been advised that we possibly could do so. In talking to Mr. Hood, he said that there would be no way that we could give gravel to a private property. And I explained to him that he would have to check with his legal department to do so, which he did, and the next day he called me back, and they still advised not to be able to do it, so.
Was it 3 loads of gravel?
8 loads.
8 loads.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the record, this is not private property, it is public property.
Yeah.
And that the County Highway Department does this for all kinds of cities and communities all across the county, but not for Fairview. But they want us to expand half the library that belongs to them. And just a note for the people to know, Commissioner Sutton said that he would pay for this out of his own pocket, although we found the money to do it otherwise if we had it in the capital improvement. But he told Mr. Hall that he would pay for it himself. So, and the county wasn't even willing to help us with loads of gravel that they send every day to other cities.
Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item F, Discuss and/or take action on recommendations from the Middle Tennessee Electric Corporation, Land Trust of Tennessee, the workshop. City Manager Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Board of Commissioners. After the workshop the other day, I went back to the next morning, actually that evening, I mentioned it to Mr. Matthew Bean about their proposal for what they would do for the easement. And after talking to Chris Weaver, who is going to be the head person on the project, he said he would try to get the proposal to us. And then another conversation that they wanted to wait till, was the other gentleman's name Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Do y'all remember that? He's on vacation this week, so they want him to make the actual proposal for the cutting, the stump grinding, the spraying of the fields, when they need to. Also, the mixture of the poison that would, he said it would be kind of like Roundup, and any possibility of any trails that might be needed to be redone. And also, if y'all remember in the meeting, we were interested in 4 55-foot light poles to help put a bridge across Turnbull Creek. And their reply was that if they get the easement, then they could furnish the poles for us. So,
And my reply was,
go ahead, sir.
you may not get the easement if we don't get the poles.
Right, sir.
They promised us those poles a year ago.
But since we don't have that proposal from Mr. Lynch, if you want to defer it until the next meeting, and when I have that in writing, that's what and as soon as I get that, then I can put it in your packet at the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Mayor, if I may add to that, my reason for that comment was if I can't, we're going on trust with these people to do what they say they're going to do. If they can't do what they say they're going to do with those 4 poles, I know that, well, actually it was 3, but I bumped it up 1 just for the fun of it. But if they can't do that, then I don't believe I can trust them to do what they say they're going to do with the rest of it. So we'll shall see.
City Manager, items for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything much tonight except to let you know that I did pass Taco Bell today, and I did see footing being poured, so.
Taco Bell?
Cheat lunch there.
Not quite,
Okay.
but a lot of people are waiting on it. So anyway, that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Miscellaneous updates. Staff comments.
Hello, I'm here for Chief Harris is at the Chief Association meetings today and tomorrow, so I'm filling in for him tonight. We had a total of 613 calls for activity last month, 14 accidents citywide, 12 of those were non-injury, 2 injury. Just to kind of give you guys an update, we've gotten 5 of the 12 new cars in. We got them on the road. We're still waiting for delivery on the other 7. The Governor's Highway Safety Grant that we've been under for 8 years now, we've gotten the application submitted for the 14-15, and we're looking at a budget of $45,450 for that grant.
Great.
Other than that, that's about all I got.
I got a couple of comments on the lights. Did we get the flashing lights changed over? Somebody told me they came through the other day and they thought they were all broke. I said, no, we just fixed them. Is that right? Is there everything up to date on that? Does it include Walmart's light?
I'm not sure about that. Keith would probably be able to answer that more than I would.
I was told that
Cox Pike and
Cox Pike and Walmart are correct. The one at McDonald's here is not doing what it's supposed to. That's what I've been told. I have not been out and seen it myself.
As far as flashing or the other thing that we addressed on that one?
Flashing at the same time the other 2 are. I have not seen it myself, but I've been told about multiple people.
And there was a compliment from a citizen saying it made it much easier at 5 o'clock in the morning going to Nashville. We didn't have to sit there and wait for nothing happening, so.
And it may be fixing it.
I'll check on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other staff comments this evening.
Just want to let the board know, and everyone out here, that the prescribed burn went very well. It rolled through like it should have, and it had no fires jump anywhere. It was done really well, and the actual head guy was really impressed on the staff taking the time to clear the trails to make sure it wasn't going to jump. And again, this Saturday, 2 to 3, the Leaper Fork Bluegrass Group, and then pick and party after 3 to 5. Joanne's Outdoor Classroom. And let the citizens know that the guys will be starting picking up leaves again come next week. So give us a little time to catch up, and we'll get it for you.
Please let your people know that they've done a fantastic job with all these trees and limbs and everything that's going down. And I know they're behind, but they're doing a fantastic job, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is about the second time. They're almost done with their second trip through the city since the storm. And they've done about 80 loads of brush, which comes to about 80 tons. And we normally do, on average, about 260 a year.
Let them know we do appreciate it.
Is there a number that is posted on the website or anything that you can, is there a certain place if they have a concern of tree, brush, limbs, leaves?
Yeah, they call Sharon at the Codes Department.
799-2484?
Yeah, I think so. They get a hold of the Codes Department. They send us emails with their requests, and we also receive them at the Public Works email address.
Public Works?
And also we receive telephone calls too.
Yeah, why can't we direct everything to y'all concerning highways, streets?
We can. I think it switched from us to Codes when Don took over, and it was never changed completely back.
It would be great if we could to keep them having different.
If we could streamline almost like a citizen hotline to Public Works,
Okay.
because I believe that would assist versus Codes taking it, and I just think it would streamline. Yes, sir.
I only have a question. I think it's a great idea, but do you really have somebody in the office to maintain?
Exactly what I was gonna say, who is sitting there to answer
Yeah.
the phone in Public Works?
And we already have
No,
somebody.
799-2484 is City Hall.
Yes.
Right.
But if we could streamline to give the public a place to call where someone can, or a place to email where someone can, versus 2 or 3 different options, that was my point.
I'll check
So
where it's
just-
at. I know I receive emails and phone calls, both from citizens, so I know.
Used to have voicemail go to
Okay.
them.
Mr. Hall has something to say, go ahead.
Possibly, Keith, is that the Codes Department number is 1585?
1585 is the
Yes.
number they've called for years and years, and
Yes.
Sharon forwards everything she
Right.
avoids. So they don't call 2484.
And the email that they can,
I don't know.
Public Works at fairview-tn.org.
okay,
It's all
great.
on the website.
I would like to talk for myself, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. If it's already on the website, that's great. I appreciate it.
I'll check into it.
Did you have something else, Mr. Hall?
I'm just going to give the Codes report when you're ready.
Other staff comments this evening? Go ahead.
Thank you. We've issued 35 electrical permits, 7 building permits. The building permits amount to $1,323,802.00.
Right.
This month. That biggest part being Taco Bell. In the codes inspection, we've inspected 41 various things, the foundation, insulation, plumbing, that type thing. We have issued COs for Atlanta Gates, 2 home businesses, and the Walker's Bookstore for 4 COs. Thank you.
Thank you. Other staff comments? Anyone else? City Attorney comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I have only about 2 items to discuss tonight, and primarily it's for information for the board. I was glad to see the judges' candidates out. It's important that the citizens get an opportunity to see the candidates. Also, it reminded me of something that I already had jotted down to bring up to the board tonight, so you'll have time to do what you may want to do. It's your call. I'm not trying to influence it in any way, but with the judge's election coming up, if the board by charter and by ordinance sets the salary of the the city judge, that salary, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is that salary can only be set, it has to be set before the election if you want to consider any changes in it, either up or down. By statute, once that's set, it cannot be altered during the term of the judge because of the concurrent general sessions jurisdiction. State judges their salaries cannot be changed during the time that they're in office. So I would suggest that, or that if you want to consider that at one of the future board meetings fairly quickly, that be on the agenda to consider what you want to do. You may not want to do anything. You may not want to put it on there. That's your call. I just didn't want it to come up after time it was too late to do anything about it, because the time to do it would be now. It has to be done prior to August. And any changes would have to be done by an ordinance, which would require 2 readings. So we would have to move on that fairly quickly, not something that has to be done tomorrow, but I don't want it to slip up on us. Second thing is just a comment that I'd like to make about the municipal judges for the amount of time that they're in the courtroom per unit of time versus the issues that they handle. A municipal judge will handle more cases and more issues than any judges in the state. Now, granted, they're not in session as much as they are, so they won't totally do that, but per volume of time they will. And also on a note that is somewhat depressing, unless this has changed in the last 3 months, the only judge to be killed or murdered in this state, the state of Tennessee, was a municipal judge. So it's a serious thing. People take those things seriously. They see people as the first line of the court proceeding, and they'll see them more often than anybody else. So just want to put that out primarily for the thing, if you want to consider that, we have to do it before August. And the last thing is in the vein of information, Monday, the 31st of March, the annexation contest, the summary judgment was heard in Circuit Court in Franklin. The circuit judge granted the city's summary judgment motion, denied the summary judgment motion of the person contesting it, and I entered the order April the 1st. So I'll keep the board advised. The judge will sign it when he gets around to sign it, but when he does, I'll let you know and keep you advised as to where we go from there. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, what's the appeal process on that?
Pardon me?
What's the appeal deadline on that?
I can't give you that right now, Mr. Commissioner, because it's 30 days from when the court enters the judgment. Yeah, and I filed it on April the 1st, so typically you're looking at 10 or 15 days before it gets entered, and once it's entered, it's 30 days from that day. But I will keep you advised as to when it was signed.
Is that it? Thank you very much. Communication from the commissioners. Commissioner Sutton.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's always good to see people that are interested in what's going on in the city and with the library, and those are some dedicated folks, and I think we all are, to further education and availability to the books. My wife personally uses the library quite often for the books. She's legally blind, and that's one of the few places she can get ready access, and they keep a good volume, so I do appreciate it. I appreciate the candidates coming out tonight. Did you hear that last part about the only one to get killed was, are you sure? Okay. I'd like to ask the city manager to put that on the agenda for us to discuss that, because I know if the last time it was done was 8 years ago, and we don't do it this time, it'll be set salary for 16 years in a row, and I'm sure some of us wanted a raise in the last 16 years, and if you come out here on Friday and see the docket, you'll understand why they're lined up down to the street. So I'd like to take a look at that on the next full Board of Commissioner meeting and do some, if you can, do some investigation into what the salaries normally are with the type volume that we deal with. Please. I I'd also like to thank the efforts from everyone that was put in from the sheriff's department. There were some people from here also in locating the young man that was missing for several days and was found. There was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people out there that put an effort out to find that young man, and he was found and he is safe. And I just want to thank everybody for doing that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no qualms about that being put on the agenda, but if any of the candidates came up to the podium and said they were going to do that job for a paycheck, they would probably lose support from a lot of people. I don't know if either of the candidates here tonight could even tell you what that salary is, so I don't think they're doing it for the money. At least I hope they wouldn't be. Therefore, I don't see any need to raise it anyway, no matter what the, but I have no problem putting it on the agenda for discussion. On the library issue, if we didn't approve this, I'm sure many people would just think we were just horrible people. But there again, Commissioner Basile has shed a light on something that is, the county really shouldn't even be asking us in the first place for any money, much less 50%. And I still stand by the fact that I don't think anyone in this room is going to spend $180,000 to add 800 square feet to their house. Much less would you just put it on your neighbor's house just because you might go over there and watch TV, and then they're going to sell the house and keep all the money, and then they're gone. So we really need to think about what we're doing. We don't want to stall the project, but it seems like that we told them we were willing to do it, and they didn't follow through with it on their end. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Commissioner Basile.
Just to echo that a little bit, it's hard to be against expanding the library. You know, it's a good thing for people. But my concerns were strictly economic, and that is that I don't mind paying my fair share. I just don't want to pay my fair share and your fair share too. And that's, the county seems to have a way of, every time they do their math, it comes up on the short end for Fairview. So I think that we are moving in the right direction by at least challenging and asserting ourselves, and I think that's something that we need to do. As we grow in population, I think we deserve that recognition. I'd also like to thank my fellow board members, and I'm sure Dr. Rice would too, for giving us a little more money so that we can move toward that. We had talked about having a Independence Day opening to coincide with our celebration, and this should put us right on track for that. Because we are doing all of the work, except for the electrical in-house, the park maintenance staff will not just dedicate a whole week. It'll probably string it out a little bit, especially with some of the wet weather and stuff. But they will get it done, and Dr. Rice is fully on the way with all of his stuff. And as soon as we get the electricity run, we can get some major components, and we look forward to having everybody out that week to give it a walkthrough and see it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Carroll.
Mayor, may I say one thing real quick along those lines, please? I just want to thank Commissioner Basile. The History Village was stalled for 4 years, and we just weren't going really anywhere until he stepped forward and volunteered to get to work on it so we could finally get it completed. I know you spent many, many hours, and I personally appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carroll.
The only thing I have tonight, Mayor, I kind of like when I vote nay on things, like to give some kind of explanation or even for things. And, you know, with this rezoning of the property on 96, I know the Planning Commission went through, they researched it, they all approved it, and then we even had discussion last week. But I just at some point in time decided, even though I respect the work they do and the research and the questions they did, and I appreciate my fellow commissioners letting me ask more questions, but I just decided in the whole scheme of things, it's not a disrespect to any of the groups, you know, the Planning Commission. It's more or less, I just don't have to vote for something that I don't feel right about. And just something about that hasn't felt good to me. And so I just want to explain to the people, I really do respect the process of the Planning Commission because I sat on there. But it's not the first time that I've ever voted nay against rezoning something commercial. So I did kind of want to address that. I do support the library and the addition. I did have some concerns about spending any money right now, but feel better about how it was presented tonight. I heard every word that Commissioner Bissell says, and he really has some logical points on, spending. But I have said in too many different conversations where, and it's not saying it's okay just because they say this is how it's going to be done. But I do know that in the city of Fairview, if we want them to come do some of this stuff, we have to come and meet them halfway. Now, it doesn't mean it's right. I understand everything that was said tonight, but it's been explained to us that we need to be able to front 50%. I don't want to delay the project of the library, especially since it's been 10 months. That was my only concern. But the way the amendment, I probably could have amended the motion, but I didn't feel like I would have the support. And the amendment, the original motion was withdrawn. So all we had to go on was Commissioner Bissell's motion. I voted for that motion because sometimes up here we have to come up with common ground and respect how the majority is going to vote. And this situation, I did feel like it was going to hinder us in the process because we had agreed, we verbally knew that they were expecting us to come up with 50%. I worry about if they stick to their gun, where the money's going to come from. And then we've put the Friends of the Library in the position of fundraising. Not to say that we can't, but I just kind of want to make that statement to the fact of to play with the county. They have been very clear over my 3 years that they expect us to come up with 50%. Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I want to say, other than thank you to Mr. Bissell for the diligence in the project on the History Village, is it was not stalled for 4 years, because I have in my hand the city paid $4,600 to a structural engineer, and that discussion was then followed up by Wade Hooper and our engineer with Griggs and Maloney, to where they gave us a $200,000 cost to get the certificate of occupancy, and it was pretty much dropped right there. So in respect to Dr. Rice and the many hours that I visited with him and saw many, many, many hurdles that the city was putting onto the History Village project, it kind of got muddled. It got muddled for a long time, very unnecessarily. So I do appreciate the ball pickup, and I do appreciate the ones who have stayed the course and look forward to the 4th of July celebration ahead. But I wanted to make that comment because we have spent a lot of money trying to work the project through, and I do appreciate that we are past, yes, and the hours Dr. Rice has put in, and the staff and the committee of the historical. Because I believe everybody had an intent of a good finished product for the benefit of the preservation of Fairview and its history. So I'm very excited that we are at a almost finish line. And I wanted to make that comment because it has not been standstill for 4 years. It has been
Standstill, it's stalled.
And other than that, I do want to thank the library people. Most of them have left, and the contribution that they make to our community. The library is a hub of a community, and it says a lot whenever people rally behind and make sure that it is its best at this time and in the future for what I think everybody has an aspiration of a new, large library to fit our growing community. So at that, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment. All in favor? Thank you for your attention. Good evening.